Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I have a really fun show for you guys today because the song that we're going to talk about, there was no proper final studio version released. It is a demo version, but the song was recorded live. And I find that interesting because when, the fans know the songs, of course, they can really get behind the band, but it's always interesting that first couple minutes of watching the crowd when there's a new song introduced that they've never heard or, aren't familiar with very much. And I had to think that this would be one of those cases since it didn't come out on a proper album. And that song is Corina, and we're going to get to that. But guys, today's the Monday show, so we have to talk. We have to talk about some things. First of all, let's get Uriah Heep inducted into the Hall of Fame. It is super easy. It takes like 30 seconds out of your life. And for all these guys have given to us over the decades, 51 years and still going strong, working on their 25th album. Let's do something for them. Let's get them in there. Go to facebook.com/heaprockhall, all one word. And you can also click the link in the show notes. On the website. Go to the website, go to scotthaskin.com, click the Uriah Heep podcast link, and then right there, you can also get right to the petition. Very important, very important. Let's help these guys out. They deserve it. They've earned it. And we all know that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame does not always make it easy for bands who have given us tons, who have shaped the form of music as we know it, have not always been conducive to just going, yeah, you know what, you belong in here. So it takes a big push for even the most well-known of bands, and we need to make it happen for these guys. So let's do that. And thank you, Dave White, for putting that together. Also, we have some people that have really supported the show, and I want to talk about them and say thank you, as I do every week, because it is so important. And also the people that make the additional contributions to the show. There are people that just do one-time donations, and those mean a lot to me as well. You don't have to commit to something every month if you want to give a little bit to the show. Either way, that's awesome. And even just listening, I appreciate it. It really means a lot. And I wouldn't be doing the show if there was no one here to listen. That would be just silly. So I would like to thank them. Starting with our $5 Easy Living tier on the Patreon account, we have Kenny Wymore and Brad D. At the $3 The Wizard tier, we have none other than Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, and Frank Thielgaard Mortensen, and William Rose. And then at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, we have the segregated sense of our friend, Airtight Gravesite. Thank you guys all very much. And to those who have made some individual donations, thank you guys all as well. It really just means absolute tons to me. And another thing that I want to talk to you guys about, if you haven't checked them out yet, the Everyday Rocks box set from BMG, 7 picture discs, 7 t-shirts, a wall calendar, and these wonderful art cards with vocal phrases on them. Absolutely stunning box set. If you haven't seen my unboxing video, it is on my YouTube channel. Had an amazing time. It's such it's got to be the best thing I've ever seen in a box set before. I love how creative bands and record companies are getting with these things, but this is by far the best that I've seen. And, all prejudice, aside, I love Uriah Heep. Of course, I would love a box set that they came out with, but this is really something I think is pretty spectacular. And they also put out the Choices box set. Both became available on September 24th. Check those out. If they're still available, grab one before they're gone. They might already be by now. I don't know. Very possible, but you can go to the same website, scotthaskin.com, click the Uriah Heep link, and they are right there. Or you can go to Uriah Heep's official website, uriah-heep.com, and you can order directly from them. My link will take you right to their site as well. Whatever's easier for you guys. I like just clicking a link. It's so much easier. So very cool things coming out from BMG and Uriah Heep. Definitely just amazing stuff. And there is word that Peter Golby is coming out with his new album. The last that I heard, no one knew where he was. He had kind of disappeared, and I'm very excited to dig into that and check that out when there's time. And I don't know the release date just yet, but hopefully it'll be soon, and we can all enjoy that. I'd be very curious to see how he sounds, what kind of writing he's doing. This should be fun, but it's very exciting news for Heep fans, especially of the era, because he was on some very popular songs and really helped shape the band in his own way. So I'm very excited about that, and we'll get more details to you guys as they come in, or you can Google it. So also, of course, I want to thank my buddy Scott Lazinski, who did the wonderful logo for the show just about a year ago. We were finishing that up. And of course, my friends at Audionamics. I will not do a show without Instant Dialogue Cleaner. I know I sound like a commercial, but the fact is, it really is awesome. It saves me tons. Anyone who is working in broadcasting, doing podcasts, doing interviews, even for vocals for a song, it can be a very helpful thing. So check that out at the Audionamics website, audionamix.com. And I would not go and do a show without talking about my buddy Dave White, who is Uriah Heep's director of social media, shares this show, shares information about the band, the box sets, all kinds of stuff. He does the entire website, which is absolutely humongous. Great work, and very much appreciated. And of course, you guys who have shared the podcast. And and Dave also does Mick Box's website at mick-box.net. which is another really cool site. Go check that out. It's separate from the Uriah Heep site, and goes into the life of Mick Box a little bit more than just what the band site does. So check those out, and thank you guys very much for sharing the show, for listening, for your feedback, for your reviews, all that stuff. It really means so much and makes a big difference on helping more people find the show. If you're listening, it's because you enjoy the show, unless it's the first time and you're checking it out and you don't know yet, but hopefully you will. And really, the way that we cut through all the noise these days is by people sharing. That's how things get noticed. Leaving feedback. The more feedback you have, the more people are likely to see it in either Google searches or through like iTunes or Apple Podcasts. It's all very important stuff. But we could do all the advertising in the world, but it's really word of mouth that makes the biggest difference. So you guys are helping make this show bigger, and I really appreciate that, because like I said, if there was no listeners, there'd be no point in me talking. And speaking of people that talk, my brothers at the Deep Dive Podcast Network, this wonderful group of people that is ever growing, and I am so happy to be a part of. Let's start with my gateway drug into the group was the Deep Purple podcast, where Nate and John go through all the Deep Purple and related family albums. It's quite extensive. They're very creative with their episodes. Really love that show. The Simple Man does all the Skynyrd Reconsidered shows, and he is digging into the early lives of Skynyrd and the stuff that they have created. Terry T-Bone Mathley does some amazing interviews on T-Bone's Prime Cuts on the other side. Rye at Sabbath Bloody Podcast is well done with all the Black Sabbath stuff, digging into Ozzy here and there, and still puts out a good show now and then. And we have Paul, Joe, and David at In the Lap of the Pods, our Queen podcast. And of course, can't forget Andy and Matt at Hawk Binge, our Hawkwind podcast. And I had never even heard of Hawkwind, but they're actually a really good band. If there's something really special about their music, it's very unique. And I'm really enjoying digging into their music as well. And then there's Eric and Jonathan that bring us all the Iron Maiden stuff at Maiden A to Z Pod. Daniel and Josh coming in with Diary of the Madmen, the ultimate Ozzy podcast. And if you don't know who Ozzy is, it's Ozzy Osbourne from Black Sabbath, and a huge solo career. He's really done a lot over the years in the industry. And we can't forget Ben and Sam at the Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast. And of course, our new members, welcome George and Tom at the Metal Gods podcast, a podcast on Judas Priest. Very cool stuff. All great shows. I listen to all of them as I have time. I wish I could listen to every episode of everything, but it's just, it's just not possible right now. But they are all some great shows. And if that wasn't enough, there's my buddy Brandon over at Metallicast, my favorite Metallica podcast. Very passionate, loves the band, just so immersed in what they've done, and really brings it home when he does his show. I love that. And then we got to check out GottaHear'emAll.com, where Allegra is digging into the touring lives of bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer and Deep Purple. Has a lot of other tidbits there. Just a fascinating website. She does a great job with a deep dive into all those things. And of course, we have Ace on Music, which you can get on Stitcher and YouTube, a great podcast into the world of the music business and up to date with things that are going on, like with COVID and, these non-fungible tokens and all these crazy things that I would probably not understand at all if it weren't for what Ace brings us in his show. So he's on a bit of a hiatus right now, but go check out those back episodes. There's some amazing information. He has such a great delivery, him and his friends that are on the show, really enjoyable to listen to. So thank all of you guys. If you want to follow the show, you can follow us on Facebook at Uriah Heep Podcast. We are also on Twitter at Heep Podcast and Instagram at Uriah Heep Podcast. And of course, there's the website at www.scotthaskin.com. And then you just click the Uriah Heep Podcast. You can also just Google search Uriah Heep Podcast, and that should take you to my website, where it's pretty extensive. The links and all that I have for each episode, each album, links to stuff the band has done, like their solo stuff and their books and different projects that they've worked on. There's all kinds of stuff there, interviews I've done with members of the band, and it's pretty extensive. So check that out as you have time, maybe even while you're listening to the podcast. Unless you're driving, don't do all of that at the same time. That would be a really bad idea. I hope you already know that. So that's all the housekeeping stuff. Let's get to the show and this song that was only recorded as a demo. I always find these fascinating because there's always something I like in the song that makes me go, oh my God, why didn't you ever record a proper studio version? We need it. Knock it off. So here it is, Corina by Uriah Heep. Well, this is off to a great start already. You can tell this is going to be a good, solid rock and roller. You got such a great rhythmic pulse coming from the guitar, and it's just giving you that, the tempo, the drive, hey, better get your energy together because this song is going places. And then on top of that, you got these seemingly random chords coming from Phil that aren't random, but they just aren't where you expect he'll go next, which just makes it interesting and makes you wonder what's going to happen in the song. I love intros like this because they don't give you enough to give you the idea of where the song is going, and they give you enough to make you think, this is interesting, I need to know more. And I think they're off to a great start. And of course, we're back to the eighth notes on bass, solid drum beat, and just ready to dig in. Well, I love how gritty Bernie sounds on this. Just really throaty and just full on power. Sounds great, especially with that rhythm. If you're going to have a rhythm like that at this tempo, you got to bring some power. That's what is going to help make this song work. And I think he does it in spades on this song. Love the sound of his voice here. And I love what Phil's doing. Those notes that he's playing. The first couple, yeah, you kind of predict those, but that third one, when he goes high up, it just sounds a little bit off from where you would expect he would go. And that makes it interesting to me. And then I love when he switches to the pad, and I'm hearing, I think it's an electric piano in the background with the pad. I'm not sure just yet what it is, but it really sounds good. It just, all of a sudden, the song just gets really thick and wide. And I think that makes a huge leap in the song, for me anyway. I mean, it may be subtle, but for me, it's a big difference. I love that. I love that Mick is just keeping along with the bass and the drums on this right now, just really giving that engine-like movement to the song. This is really cool. Well, now that I'm hearing it a little bit more isolated and up front, it sounds more like a harpsichord to me. Very interesting instrument. It really has a beautiful tone to it. I've always loved the harpsichord. I find, though, that when I hear it, I tend to think more about like Mozart's time because it's not an instrument that's used a whole lot in today's music, maybe in the classical world, but certainly not a whole lot in rock. But I love the sound of it. There was another song, it was Love Will Keep Us Together by Captain and Tennille in I think it was the late 60s when that came out. And that featured the harpsichord, and it was just a beautiful use of it. I love it here as a filler. I think that sounds really nice to just have that little thing come in and kind of give you something to listen to other than the rhythm of the song there in that short opening break. I think that sounds fantastic. It's really a surprise and a welcome one. And then, of course, we're hearing some pad sounds in the background. Phil's a busy guy on this song. And you know what? Maybe he is always, but at times there's just times that we can't hear specifically what he's doing because he's blended so much into the mix. And, you know, sometimes when I write, I have instruments that are designed to do that. They're not designed to be heard specifically as much as they are be a presence or a thickener or something to help make the song work. But not every sound needs focus, if that makes any sense. If it doesn't, let me know and I'll find a better way to explain it. But it really sounds good. And I like the little bit of brassy synth coming in as well. A really nice variety. We're getting a lot of Phil in this song, which is pretty cool. But, you know, everyone else is being very supportive, not being flashy, just kind of keeping up with the rhythm so that these other two guys can pull the focus a little bit more on this one. Man, how powerful is this? I mean, it just sounds fantastic with Mick keeping up the rhythm along with the bass and drums. Really adds another layer of drive to the song, I think. And I would have thought, and maybe, again, I have to remember that this is a demo version and not a final studio version. So there may have been a different intent through this. Maybe Mick only laid the rhythm track and he was going to do another track over it. It's not uncommon, as we've discovered on most of the songs, that Mick is playing a little bit of a rhythm track on the right side of the headphones. And then over on the left side, he's doing some fillers and solos and things like that. Maybe another lead track on top of it. So if this was a demo, he may have only recorded the one track. We'll see if there's anything else as we move forward through the song. But we're already almost halfway through the song. So don't know what's coming, what else might be in here. But keeping in mind that it's a demo version, it makes a lot more sense now. But it also is cool just to see how good he is on rhythm. You know, he's solid. He's not speeding up or slowing down. He's keeping the tempo, very clean picking through all of this. His guitar sounds fantastic. Lots of good stuff in this one. I'm so sad that they didn't do a final version. Okay, that made me very happy. I have to say that. That made me very, very happy. Great solo, really fit the song. Didn't think we were going to get one because it was a demo version, but I'm really glad we did. And certainly shows that the balance of having the keyboard be featured here and there, and then having the guitars come in and be featured. It's such a nice balance. You're not always hearing one kind of sound. You get that mix, and that keeps the song fresh as it moves forward into a repeating chorus. And I love when they do that. I did read in the book, and I haven't been doing this a whole lot because they are so hard to read, and I'm getting old. So in my withered state, I did read that it says when the band toured Russia during December 87, for those now famous Moscow shows, several of them were recorded for posterity. And there is a live version on this deluxe CD of Corina. I do want to point out. But it says that this is an alternate version from the version that actually graced the Live in Moscow album. And it was probably the first ever track recorded by the Shaw Lanzon lineup. Very interesting. I think if this was the first song they recorded, man, they came out with a bang, because this is such a great song. I am really loving it. I love when a fill has that kind of a build to it. I mean, you can't do them all the time. You have to be very strategic about when you bring out an extended fill like that, because it starts before the normal time a fill would start, and it has to go on a little bit longer because of that. And so, if you do that all the time, it gets really stale and boring. But every once in a while, it's awesome to do. And I love that when it just has so much energy. It's like, hey guys, come with me. We're going to go on a journey. Let's do that chorus again. And just so exciting to listen to. Very powerful snare fill.
Corina wants his talk of glory. Between the sheets in all the vein. Corina just a hot love story.
That crazy Corina. Always up to her shenanigans. This is a great song. I absolutely love it. I think it sounds amazing for a demo version. I don't know how different a final studio version would have been, unless maybe there was a little bit more filler going on. Mick usually plays some interesting things in between the lines in a verse or chorus. So I feel like that track might be the only thing missing. I feel like the keyboards are pretty full. There's the harpsichord, there's that brass sound, and then I'm hearing some pads in there as well. And he plays that harpsichord for more than just that one standout part. He's actually playing it during the in-between parts of that too, but it just kind of comes alive right in that moment. And so there's a lot going on with Phil. Bass and drums, very solid through the whole song. That rhythm guitar that Mick is playing, just very solid. It's a great song, really powerful, passionate vocal. And I wonder what else they could have done with it other than those fillers. I really don't know. I don't know. Maybe even the vocals seem to be that enough that they don't really need anything else. So I don't know. I would have been curious to see, but what we have is a fantastic version. It's nice and clean. Everything's audible. And we get that. I'm happy with that. And then of course there's the live version on this CD, and then there's the Live in Moscow album as well. So very cool. I hope that you guys like this song. I think it's fantastic. I'm all pumped up now. I'm going to go to the gym or something. It's not going to happen, but I want to. It's really as far as I ever get. So thank you guys for tuning in for another episode. We will see you guys tomorrow on the Tuesday show. Hope this was a great way to start your week. Take care of yourselves, guys. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!